Lamar Jackson rolls out. Oh, he gets past the seashell. He gets wiped out by a jet ski. Are you kidding me? Wow. Lamar Jackson, the reigning NFL MVP. He's got high expectations, as we know, coming into the next season. But the new video, which everybody has seen, has Ravens fans concerned. If you did miss it, I guess we'll explain it. He was seen playing beach football with his buddies, running in the sand before being pretty violently tackled and pushed over a wave runner. Luckily, he remains healthy. He emerged unscathed. He was not hurt, but that was a dangerous-looking imagery. The imagery there was not good. Inbounds, out of bounds. Lamar Jackson's decision to risk his health playing beach football shows a lack of maturity that should worry the Ravens.
I'm not going to say a lack of maturity that should worry the Ravens. I think it was a lack of thinking about things in real time, because when you're young like that, because he's still only 24 years old, or is he 23, 24 years old, whatever it is, about to be 24, you still think you're invincible. You think you can do anything. You think you can be a daredevil and not get hurt. But the reality is that there is a team and teammates and a city and an organization depending on your health. So I'm going to say no. Doesn't show a lack of maturity. It just shows a lack of awareness and stupidity in a moment, which I'm sure he will not do again.
I'm going to say inbounds. Here's why this worries me. To me, like, this is a look into the athletic soul of Lamar Jackson. Now, you could relate to this on some level. This is something I couldn't relate to at all, but I could imagine, knowing my personality, if I was blessed with that athleticism, I'd be doing the same thing. You don't think anybody can touch you at all. Whether it's, Sunday in front of 80,000 people, slicing up a secondary, you should take it 80 yards to the house, or have a little fun with your buddies on the beach. And the reason I say inbounds, listen, we all know he's a good kid. He's a different leader, but he seems to be a relatively easy leader. But what I like about him, amongst many things here, is that he's not afraid. He's not afraid at all. But that's also going to be, I fear, to his detriment, Tiki. I really worry about, there's going to be a time forget about the beach. That he probably won't do again.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a time when he is on the football field, right? And he's playing, and he just relies so much on that incredible burst and shiftiness that he might actually really get hurt and never be the same guy.
Yeah, RG3, by the way, he's got the example on his team right now. Same thing happened with RG3. He was reckless with himself.
Look, the kid's the MVP, and he very well could win it again. Who knows? But I would not put down a sizable bet for Lamar Jackson to have a 12 to 15-year career. I hate to say that, but where are the examples around the NFL?
I don't disagree with that at all.
So he's got to learn, and I'm sure the Ravens will talk to him, and he won't do that again, but I'm worried about the field, not the beach. Jadeveon Clowney, still out there, have talent, will play. Where, we don't know yet. His name's been linked to a bunch of teams here, various teams. The Browns, Seattle, his old team. Now the Titans are checking in. Last week, Tennessee GM John Robinson told reporters they're looking into the situation. Only thing missing was the requisite due diligence term. Everything else, right?
Everything else he said absolutely nothing. He said a lot, but nothing.
Nothing. A lot of words that went nowhere. So our friend Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com, terrific, says the Browns have not given up on trying to land Clowney. In or out, the Titans would be the best fit for Clowney.
I'm going to say out of bounds. I still think that he would do really well in Cleveland because they have so many other talented players, and Olivier Vernon he's on the edge of just retiring at this point. They need him too. So I think if he went to Cleveland, so I'm going to say out of bounds, if he went to Cleveland on a one-year deal, he could really show out. And obviously with Myles Garrett on the other side, who they're about to pay a ton of money to, he's not going to be double-teamed. He's going to have his chance to showcase himself and then go make some money next year, maybe in that 15 or 18 to 20 range that he was looking for initially. So I'm going to say out of bounds to the Titans. I think Cleveland's actually the spot.
I'm going to say out of bounds. I mean, listen, if he winds up on the Browns, he's wherever he goes, he's going to help the team. I mean,
no doubt.
To what degree? Yeah, that's debatable. He's not a superstar. He's a star, and he does a lot of things well. But that fine line between superstar, he's not transcendent. He's slightly below that. I think most football people would acknowledge that. I'm going to give you a team, and I think you're going to like this one.
Who?
I think it's, and I've said this for a while, I think the Giants
yeah.
would be an incredible fit. Let me tell you why.
I don't disagree, man.
You know, number one, I think the Giants are in the formative stages of a real revival. They've got the quarterback. They've got the offensive weapons all over. They've got a coach who is going to make special teams a priority, which means they'll begin winning some close ones rather than losing them. The division, while, you know, on paper it seems top-heavy, like, wow, you know, Dallas and Philly, but it was a battle of attrition last year. Nobody ran away with it. They're both deeply flawed programs at this point.
Yep.
You know, who knows what happens with the Redskins, even though we both lauded the hiring of Ron Rivera. He's a great fixer like he did with Carolina, but we have to see. They've got a lot of holes. The Giants, you know, what they did in free agency, and for him to, not that it needs to, like, kickstart his career, because everybody knows he's good. So it's not a rebirth, but if he was to have like one great season with the Giants, as much as the Giants' offense is appealing, it's always been, and you were a great offensive player, so was Beckham, and not many others, really. Teams known about defense.
Yep.
When the Giants are great, it's the defense that leads the way.
No doubt.
You throw them in the middle of some of the upgrades they had,
that's right.
Giants could be pretty good this year.
And they're running a 3-4
3-4.
So he could be stand-up or he could be a hand-in-the-ground guy on the other side of that. So he can be versatile in that defense. It's a good call. It's a really good call.
I like it with the Giants. Mike Miller, currently the coach of the Knicks. How many people you actually think really, truly knew that? Non-Knicks fans. I would think very few. David Fizdale was fired. Miller took over. Good guy. He's working hard, but he's probably not going to get the job. The team's looking for a long-term answer. Now a new name's jumped at the top of the list. It's fired Nets coach Kenny Atkinson. On Friday, SNY reported that Atkinson, quote, has legitimate support within the Knicks organization, and now Bucks coach Mike Budenholzer, who the Knicks somehow inexplicably passed over for Fizdale, another one of their great moves, told the Post, quote, I love to see him be on the bench and be the coach of the Knicks. He's so true to player development, which he is. Some people are very good at that and are not interested in the team stuff 5-on-5, but Kenny does everything, end quote. In or out, Atkinson would be the best fit for the Knicks.
I'm going to say out of bounds, BT. I think Coach Thibodeau would be the best fit for the Knicks. And I think that from other reports you're hearing, he's got the inside track, Tibbs. So we'll see.
Conflicting reports.
Very conflicting reports, which is not atypical for the New York Knicks.
Yep.
But I think Tibbs, they're going to be young. And so when you have a young team like the Knicks are going to have, you need someone to teach fundamentals and the details and the importance of playing defense and, you know, proper rotations and not being lazy. And he'll do that to a team. Now Atkinson will as well, but I don't know. I have this affinity for the hard-nosed nature of Tibbs, especially for a team that is in need of a serious rebuild.
I'm going to say inbounds to Kenny. I'm going to say out of bounds to Thibs. I'm not saying that there's no intrigue. I know Tom Thibodeau's a good coach. He won in Chicago. You know, he had some moments with the T-Wolves. I think his rep is probably a little tarnished unfairly, the way it broke down. He's got to change a little bit, and I would think that he's smart enough and adaptable enough to look in the mirror and tweak things a little bit. You can't run guys into the ground. You know, when you have on-off days, you've got to, you know, respond a little bit differently to the modern athlete. You know, he just doesn't have that juice. I mean, Pat Riley could do whatever he wanted because, number one, that was a while ago, but Pat also had juice because Pat had these. He had rings.
Yep.
Thibs doesn't. So I think Thibs is a really good coach, but my answer is Kenny Atkinson. You know, Van Gundy's intriguing, but I almost want to go somewhere else. Been there, done that. Love Jeff. Almost want to see him stay in the booth selfishly because I love listening to him. Plus, I think Jeff's going to take the Rockets job, actually. I don't think Mike will be back.
Forget that one's coming open.
That's probably coming open as well. Still lives in Houston. I just think that Kenny, and, you know, having seen this with my own eyes, you know, you hear these terms thrown out there. Well, he's great with player development. I saw it, you know, 2 hours, 3 hours before games at the Garden, grinding with guys who have no chance to get off the bench. He is a scrapper, and you know, I think he's a good coach. So I would hire Kenny. I don't think there's now. You could also say it probably doesn't matter until they actually start bringing players in.
Good point.
But as a guy who needs to see the Knicks get good eventually, I will take both R.J. Barrett, Mitchell Robinson. I'll take those two guys. I would trust them with Atkinson more than I would anybody else. So I endorse Kenny. As college football players return to campuses, schools like Bama, Auburn, and Houston have seen multiple players test positive for the COVID-19 virus. Now, Ohio State's trying to protect itself, requiring players to sign a waiver acknowledging that they know the risk of working out during the pandemic. In part, the waiver tells players to, quote, pledge to take responsibility for my own health and stop the spread of COVID-19, end quote, in terms of their waiver, the wording. So, in or out, the Buckeyes forcing players to sign a waiver, taking responsibility for their own health is in or out?
I'm going to say inbounds, and I know that the implication here is that they're just trying to protect themselves against liability, but I think there's other schools are going to start doing the same. SMU just announced that they're doing something similar. I'm positive there's another Big Ten team, I can't remember who it was right now, that also had a similar liability or a similar waiver that they had their student athletes sign. So I'm going to say inbounds. One, just because it makes these kids aware of everything that they should be doing and not taking it for granted because they're young. I think too often, and in BT, we're seeing this in like New Jersey down at the shore. You see it in Florida where they had a spike, in Texas as well. These young kids are acting like everything's normal just because the stay-at-home orders were lifted, and you're seeing a resurgence. So, like, if you can force them to think about this, it's the best thing for these student athletes. I'm going to say inbounds.
Totally agree, man. I was saying inbounds as well here, Tiki. And by the way, you preface everything with, and it's almost like a cynical, like, oh, it's a negative thing. Oh, it's kind of rooted in business to protect themselves. But you know what? I don't really blame them. I mean, it is a business.
Yeah. Indiana, by the way, was the other school.
Okay. And to my knowledge, every single Buckeyes player has either signed or is prepared to sign the waiver. Unique times call for unique circumstances. I get it. I have no problem with this at all. I think it sparks awareness. It sparks diligence. And it also protects Ohio State, God forbid, in case something goes wrong. So I say inbounds.
Tune in next time for another edition of Inbounds or Out of Bounds with Tiki and Tierney.